Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. You guys might recognize this as being a French cleat, but the French cleat game has been turned on its head with this. I'm gonna explain just how and why this is so important. Let's go. So just a little overview before we get started. What is a French cleat? Well, it's a 45-degree angle beveled piece. Essentially, you're gonna wanna take the smaller side, okay? Put this in easy terms. Small side, large side. Small side goes up against the wall. That's what these are. Then, on your tool holder, you're gonna join it with the opposite side facing the other way. That way, you can lock things in place. I'm gonna show you, this is a pretty good example of a tool holder I built years ago. Here's some footage of it, how it works. I mean, it's easy stuff, right? I've got a ton of videos on these French cleats, as you can see here, so they're gonna be in a playlist down below. So, why is this so important? Well, we'll get into that just in a minute. But I'm gonna first tell you the formula that I've come up with to cut the original French cleats on the table saw, and here it is. Okay, so here's the formula right here. I'm gonna place it on the screen. You can screenshot this, you can pause the video, you can write this down, whatever, but it really does work. Essentially what you wanna do here, okay, hope you got that screenshot. What you wanna do is you wanna make one piece of wood, basically about, well, however long you want, but I will say I would go no less than 5.5 inches. You wanna cut that directly in half. But you just can't put your table saw fence halfway between 5. You can't put it at 2.5, doesn't work that way, because you're cutting a 45-degree angle bevel. Now that formula basically essentially tells you to take half of your material width and then half of the thickness and then half of the kerf of the blade, set your fence, and then you can cut it through. And what that does, it essentially makes, yep, you guessed it, it makes two pieces identical, okay? If I'm not holding there right. These two pieces are identical and they were cut from the same piece of wood. Now this is the way I've always done it, and honestly, I like it. It works really well. But there's a new sheriff in town in the French cleat world, and it's like this. It's got two bevels, this way and this way, the exact same. There is no 90 degrees. Why is this important? Like I said, we'll get into that in a little bit, but I'm gonna show you how to cut this on the table saw, and here's how you do it. Of course, you want to set your blade to 45 degrees. You can also do 30 degrees as well, which is another common degree for a cleat system. You're going to cut off one end. You're going to bring your fence, which has been modified with an auxiliary fence that goes all the way down to the table saw's table. At this point, I can then now rest that angle up against the fence, making sure it doesn't tuck underneath, and keep cutting 45-degree angle pieces. This allows me to have those bevels be parallel with each other. But what you're left with are those two bevels that are very sharp. So to break them, I use the table saw again, and I take basically the kerf width of a blade off the edge, making them nice and smooth. Okay, now that we got these cut, I'm gonna say this, a word of caution if you think, hey, I could just move my fence to the other side of the blade. That creates a bit of a problem. You see this little footage right here? See this piece? Yeah? You see how dangerous that is? I couldn't even imagine the kickback that would happen. I think that death might happen. I don't know. Yeah, you could essentially do it that way, but you would have to have all kinds of luck, precautionary measures. I don't know. My recommendation is to put yourself a sacrificial fence, not even sacrificial, but just a fence that is as tight to the table saw table as you can, like you saw in the earlier clip. Works fine that way. All right, moving forward. And by moving forward, I mean let's build something with this new cleat. Check it out. So at this point, now that we've discovered a new cleat, it's time to put it into practice. I've got an idea to put something else up on the wall, something pretty handy. That will all become clear very soon. I just want you to hang in there with me and enjoy the ride as we make something to go up on the French cleat wall again. French cleats are kind of comfort food to me in the shop. I've made them for years. I like doing them, and I always like seeing the result and the functionality and the convenience of what we can come up with. You can see here I put a pretty severe chamfer on these edges. I've got two of the identical pieces here. We're gonna cut them down to length on the table saw sled. Nice crisp cut. And then, like all tool holders in my shop, I wanna make sure there are no rough edges. We sand everything down to feel nice and smooth. Now we make a few marks here. I wanna find the center of this piece. And then I want to come out about an inch or so and then put two 45-degree angles down and realize that the angles weren't quite where I needed them to be, so I had to redo it, but no big deal. Now, here is the perfect example. Honestly, this is the perfect example of Starbond CA glue being a tool for me at this point. Now I need to put this directly on this line, and CA glue and activator honestly is one of the better ways to do this because I wasn't gonna take the time to cut a groove or a dado in there. Again, activator on the surface, glue on the adjoining surface, line it up carefully, and then within seconds, you have a strong, strong bond. I do it again to the top. This time I don't need the angles there because all I need is the center of the piece. And once we line this thing up, this thing is actually coming together pretty quickly. I got coupon codes down below as you saw, so check it out, starbond.com. Really is great stuff. So with my super glue tool in place, I'm now going to put some mechanical fasteners in here. I've done a quick little countersink, and then I like this little trick whenever I have to screw in a whole bunch of screws at once. I like to put them in place with a hammer, take my time, and then drive them home, giving me a nice, clean look. I repeated that process on the other side, and now it's time to attach the back to this piece, glue and brads, and of course, again, some mechanical reinforcers. This is probably overkill, but I like the look of it and it makes me feel good. So if you can visualize what this is, well, it's not really a little chair. I wonder if anybody's guessed exactly what I'm making. All become clear very soon, guys. Just hold tight. We're gonna put a nice hand sanding down now on everything, making the edges all nice and smooth, like I've said before. Again, here is that new parallel bevel 45-degree cleat. We're gonna install it on the tool like you would any standard cleat, but it's gonna give us a bit more functionality. And this is what I'm pretty excited about. A little glue and CA glue trick, hold it in place with a few clamps, and then reinforce it with a few brads. Now we're good to go. Now the back doesn't need to have that much support. That's why I've just got a small strip here, but I do need some because my cleats are spaced out 12 inches on the wall, and you do need a backer for support. All right, so like I said, this idea is not mine, it is Pete's. And again, I'm gonna let him describe some of the things he's come up with. So, Pete, you ready? All right, bud, take it away.
All right, Chris, thanks for having me on your channel. Here's a few ideas for holders on the French cleat wall. One idea is this bandsaw blade holder. You can see it's got two French cleat wedges here, and then knobs that turn and allow you to get the bandsaw blades off easily. You can see it wedges on there and it's super sturdy. Another idea is the sanding disc rack. It organizes your sanding discs by grit and hangs on the French cleat wall for easy access. One last idea are these holders for nailers. They allow you to put the nailer perpendicular to the wall, which saves you a lot of space. Thanks again, Chris, for checking out the French cleat wall and for all your support. Back to you.
Right, I know, awesome stuff. All right, back to what we're gonna do here, and let's continue. So these cleats with the parallel 45-degree bevels have a trick up their sleeve. You can actually run them through the table saw and cut them in half, which give you two standardized French cleats. Pretty cool little thing here. Also, I'm gonna use these for a little bit different application. And again, like I said, these projects where you just kind of go and follow your nose and you think of an idea and just kind of make it work, these to me are some of the best in the shop. As you see, I'm putting everything together. I gotta trim that up, and we do that, we clamp it in place. I leave a little bit of a gap, and then I fashion it all home with some glue and brads. Okay, so I am gonna use one of those standard cleats here, but I'm going to extend its reach. Using some PVA glue, which is standard wood glue, and some CA glue, we're gonna just tack it in place. And then now I'm gonna take this piece and attach it to the one we just made. And of course, I am a sucker for using flush trim screws to reinforce all these joints like you see me doing here. And there you go. This is, well, kind of a squirrely looking cleat. You think, how in the world is that gonna work? If you figured it out by now, hey, congrats, but I'm about to show you. So here it is. It is a, yep, you guessed it, a trash bag dispenser. I've always been wanting to make one of these. Works pretty well, but the top of it still, using that parallel cleat, allows for a space for some more organization. Now check this out, there you go. You can put a cleat on a cleat, such a cool idea. So glad this worked that well, and honestly, it's so satisfying. Now let's discuss some other options for this. Check this out. All right, truth be told, I just made a trash bag holder. Well, one, I did kind of have this idea a little bit ago, figured I would make it for this video, but I'm gonna show you an interesting thing about this system too. if you design your pieces where they sit flush on a work surface, you then have now something to come with you wherever you are. So what I mean by that is you want to take your trash bags everywhere. Of course not. What I'm saying is if you design like small parts bins for nuts, bolts, screws, you name it, this could be a really cool system to not just take the bins. I mean, for instance, like this is a pretty ubiquitous bin that you might see somewhere in the makerspace that hooks onto a system that will stay on the wall, right? Let's put that back. But this, you could take this little shelf with you and it could have a series of maybe 12 bins. Say you need to work on something at a different location. Pretty cool idea. I really like it. I really do. And I hope you guys consider not just the original French cleat, but also making some of these with the parallel 45 degrees. The functionality is just added and I don't think it takes anything away. So let me close this up with my final thoughts. All right, guys, well, that's all I got for you this week. I want to thank Pete as well, really for introducing me to this, really telling the world about it. He just kind of slowly just put it out there and I was pretty blown away. So I tried cutting these myself and the functionality was pretty awesome. I'm gonna incorporate these in this shop from here on out. This is such a cool system. Again, I'm gonna link all Pete's stuff down below, go check it out. And again, if you wanna help support the channel, I've got campaigns down there as well. I've got an Etsy store, I've got a Patreon, why not? Again, no pressure for anything, but I am slowly building what I am doing on Etsy. If you wanna check that out, the link is down below. Thank you so much, guys. I appreciate your viewership, appreciate you watching, and I'll see you on my next video. Until then, y'all be safe, take care.